100%, never looking back, that's the goal, you know? Look, self-growth is what I'm really on. Dedicated to the grind till we all on. It's like I got the world in my whole palms. Ask for guidance, pray to God, hope he right my...
All right, my brother, my brother, my brother. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the show. How are you?
Good, good. How about yourself?
Good, 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 man. So, welcome to Chatterbox TV with yours truly, King Jacob, man. And man, I'm ready to dive into it. So, man, before we get started, man, go ahead and introduce yourself to the people.
Hey, well, first of all, thank you for having me on. I love what you do for the community. We had a good conversation about, when it comes to home ownership. My name is Chris Dingle. I'm been known for the past few years as the next lender with Newview Mortgage Solutions. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm licensed in 7 different states, including North Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Virginia, and the reason why I do what I do, I meet a lot of good people. And I'm a loan officer, a mortgage broker to be exact, right? So when it comes to buying houses, refinancing, things of that nature, I'm the guy. I'm the bank, right? I got the loan products that may fit your specific needs, where a case may be there. But I do these things because I ran into a lot of good people in my life that have owned or have tried to own, and even when they are ready to buy, they're not able to, and they don't understand why. When I came into this industry, I learned a lot of things. I bought 2 houses in my life, and both times I knew nothing about home buying. All I was given was paper saying, "Here's what you need to pay. Can you do it?" But when I came into this industry, there were so many things I learned about it. I was like, people need to know this. People don't need to be told no and not told why. So I do what I do. I do different products from first-time home buyers to luxury buyers to construction, new construction to veterans. Um, you name it. People maybe are looking to move up. They got children coming and they need a bigger home, things of that nature. So um, I would say if anyone that's watching now has ever thought that they can't buy or been told that they can't buy, that's what this is for tonight. That's why I'm here to share that knowledge, that wealth of knowledge with everyone.
Okay, okay, man. So, for the new home buyers, man, that really don't understand, when it comes to things that's out there for home buyers, like they have so many programs out there. Can you talk about some of the programs that they have out there to really make them understand that don't be discouraged because they have programs that can help you with your opening costs and your closing costs.
Absolutely. And a lot of people, especially first-time home buyers, they're told many different things. One thing I hear a lot is that you need 20% down to get into a home. That's not the case. There's so many programs that are available where 3 to 3.5% is normal. There are programs out there where 0% down is normal. Um, and it's all about knowing what those programs are. So you have your FHA loans that only need 3.5%. If you're a first-time home buyer, you do a conventional, you only need 3. Then you have programs where off the bat, off the rip, they are 0% down. So like your veterans out there that are currently in the military or had been in the military, any rural areas do not require any down payment whatsoever. Now we're just talking about the basic programs, right? Then you have your down payment assistance programs. Those things exist depending on what area you're in, who you're working with. Here in Charlotte, North Carolina, you have different programs like House Charlotte, Dream Key, North Carolina Advantage. Those kind of programs, depending on if you're in that area, are accessible to first-time home buyers. Then you have those programs tailored to lenders like myself. As a mortgage broker, I work with so many lenders that have their own down payment products that aren't tied to income, that aren't tied to you have to live in a specific area. Um, That's why I'm in the space I'm in, so that everyone's aware. There's so many programs available.
Okay, okay. And so when you have a first time home buyer and the things that they should know as far as the loans and what type of interest rate should they be looking for, how is it how are those conversations to make them understand that this is possibly the best interest rate that you can get when obtaining that loan?
Yeah. So, interest rates are not a one fits all number. It depends so much on the type of house you buy, how much income you make compared to your debts, where you're buying at, that factors in as well. And there's at least 10 other factors that go into an interest rate. So when it comes to an interest rate, those don't have to be forever. And so when someone is being told, hey, based on this information, the interest rate is at a 7%, that's really just because of the market that we're in. We've seen the rates jump to where they're at now. We've seen the rates when they were super low, but that is not something that should hinder anyone from purchasing a house. One thing to consider is that when you're renting, technically you're paying 100% interest because none of it goes into to your pocket, right? But with a house, whatever that interest rate is going to be, that's just a small percentage compared to the equity you'll obtain in owning a home. Now, there are different ways in which we can get around whatever that interest rate is at that point in time. What I've seen a lot happen is, there are seller concessions where, especially in this market, it's hard for sellers to sell their homes because rates are so high. People are not wanting to make that move. So they are offering concessions, credits, or as you could say, to help pay closing costs. So if you find a seller and they're willing to give you $5,000, why not use that $5,000 to lower your interest rate? Right? There's one way of doing that. Another way is what um, in the industry is called a buy down. So even though we see rates in the sixes and the sevens today, with a buy down, you can go in with a 4 or 5% interest rate to start, and then over the course of time, it may go back to that seven. Doesn't mean you have to stick with that seven. Refinancing can play a key factor when owning a home, but it requires you owning the home, right? So you got to buy the house, and then you consider lowering that rate. There was a phrase someone used one time. They said a while back, date the rate, marry the house. If you buy the house, you keep the house, as long as you're doing your thing, making the payments on time, and you're ensuring that your credit is, on par. Within 6 months' time, rates go down. You can always consider a refinance and using that equity to lower your interest rate and your payment. But of course, interest rate is not forever. That uh, should not stop someone from considering buying a house. Anytime you own a house, you're just investing in yourself, and that's the key thing that I really want people to understand. Investing in yourself is vital especially if you're trying to survive in this economy that we're in.
Okay, so no, we had a conversation, and shout out to LaShawn Jackson for plugging me in with
Yeah.
plugging me in with the interview. I've
Hmm.
been I've been rocking with her for a very long time. That's a great friend of mine, and so we talked about all the loans that you provide, all the loans that you can get people to understand that you may qualify for this loan, but not this loan. So can you go down a list on and talk about those loans that you can provide, clients?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a whole plethora of them, um, but you have your standard products. So you may hear a lot of conventional loans, FHA loans, even VA and USDA loans. Then you have programs that are based on a particular client in a particular scenario. So, for example, with self-employed borrowers, And we've had a huge influx of self-employed individuals in the past 5-6 years, especially after COVID. And so with their income, the only issue is that when they file taxes, they may not show as much income, right? You have your write-offs, right? Whether it's advertisements, marketing, lunch, and learns, word mileage, the thing, whatever the case may be. We learn, hey, use those write-offs so that you don't owe as many taxes when it's tax time, which is great if you're really trying to save money. However, the banks look at that. They look at what your revenue is, but then they go by that net number. So you may make 100K a year, but if your net is showing 20K, the bank is going to go by that 20K. So how do you get around that? You have what's called bank statement loans. So with 12 to 24 months of bank statements, you can use 1 or 2 years of P&Ls, or even your 1099s for the past few years. The bank is going to look at that differently under a bank statement loan program. Now they're looking at how much money is your business bringing in, what's an idea of expenses for this type of business. For someone like myself, I don't have like a lot of expenses going toward anything other than the systems I use and licensing. But for someone that is a truck driver and they own their own truck, they have maintenance they have to take care of their truck, the tires, gas, and things of that nature. So they consider those things with your business. They use a percentage. They may not use, or they may use what your actual expenses are. And now you actually can qualify based on your actual revenue that you make per year, instead of going by what you filed on your tax returns. And so with that does require you being a little responsible with your credit, but that is a huge loan product that has been beneficial, especially in this market where we have so many entrepreneurs coming up and doing their own thing. It's good for them to know that now they know that home ownership is still possible, and they can still save money on when they're filing taxes.
Okay, cool. So let's jump over into one thing, because I deal with a lot of entrepreneurs, because I am a brand manager and a publicist. So and we have conversations about you know um, using buying the home with their business. You know what I mean? As far as their business credit, their tax ID number, and things of that nature. So can you kind of go in depth and kind of tell the audience how that would work?
So there are ways in which you can buy a house and you can put it in your entity, right? So the thing is going to be more so the same, kind of like what we talked about with the bank statement loan. Now, if you are intending on working out of the home or using a part of a home for your business, now we can look at a little bit more of a mixed use, sorry, or maybe even a commercial, depending on what we're doing with that home. So, for example, for someone that is running a daycare out of their home, right, it would be considered mixed use. But with a product like a bank statement loan, they are able to consider those things. The value of your business itself is a profitable, so that they can maintain their business in their home that they're using for it. And so uh, things like that, you can purchase a home through those type of means. Now, I will say, with those type of loans, one thing that a lot of people don't understand is that when banks are giving loans out, they're doing one of two things. They're either going to keep the loan for themselves, make that interest off of it as it's being serviced, or they're going to sell it to the secondary market. If they sell it to the secondary market, which is Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, they're going to want to make sure that it fits the bubble of mortgage lending that they need it to fit, right? And so if you have somebody that's going to service your loan themselves, they may be more lenient. I say all that to say, when it comes to making decisions on, okay, based on his business, their credit and things of that nature, is it possible that they'll be okay with this mortgage? Um, if there's something that makes one lender say, I'm not sure, then they may deny. But for another lender, they may say, we can work with it, and they'll accept it. That's why it's so important to make sure that you're working with the right person for your particular scenario, because you don't know, one no may be another lender's yes. That's why it's so important when I'm working with people, that I'm looking at the different investors that I work with, different lenders, to ensure one of those lenders are going to say yes to this particular deal. So,
Okay.
yeah. Mhm.
Okay. Okay. Great. Great. So I know, as you said, mortgage lending, and for that terminology, a lot of people may not understanding when they are a new home buyer and understanding the depths of mortgage lending. What are some of the insightful things that they need to understand that's beneficial when talking or conducting business to a mortgage lender, and how would you break that down to a new person who have no understanding of how this works?
Right. So, how I explain to my clients, this is an investment, not just you investing in yourself, but it's also a bank investing in you by lending you this money. This is not a bank where you're just asking for $5,000. Even with the car, usually 15, 20, 25, maybe even 35,000 for that particular car. If you notice, when you go to a car dealership and you get qualified for a car purchase, they don't look at a lot of stuff. I've literally purchased a car before, a van in particular. They did not even look at my paychecks to see if I could make the payments. So they're just in the business of getting a sale out of you. When it comes to mortgage lending, you have regulations and compliances. The bank is not just looking to say, hey, can we sell you money? They want to make sure that you are protected just as much as they are. One thing, when we are looking at when we're talking about mortgage lending, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars going to you for the purchase, the biggest purchase in your life that you'll probably ever make, right? And so we're they're going to look in depth at everything. But I tell clients, you know what, get ready to be an open book, because we're going to need to know everything. We were looking at what you're spending on your bank statements, how much money you're making, where that money coming from, any cash deposits, where's that money coming from, right? We're looking at your ability to repay. So when we're looking at your credit report, how many times have you been late in the past 12 months or 24 months? How many credit cards do you have? How many car payments do you have? How many collections do you have, or how many times did you have a 90-day late, or charge off? All those things. We go into full depth of your character, your financial character, to determine your ability to repay. Because what the bank does not want to do, um, and just to make it clear, because when people hear mortgage lending, it can trigger the thought of, oh, a salesman is trying to sell me something. Just like a car dealership, salesmen are just trying to sell you something, get you into something, right? That's not the same here. We want to make sure that when you're purchasing this home, one, you're buying a home that you're happy with. Two, you're buying a home where you're not going to be struggling making mortgage payments. You don't have to take on a second job in order to make your mortgage payments. We're making sure that you're not spending every single cent in your bank account in order to buy this home. So if an emergency comes up, you have money to take care of yourself. Something happens, right? And so we have to look deep into those things, even the things that they may not tell us. There are ways that the bank can find things that you do not mention, things that I don't even see. until the thing gets to the loan gets to the underwriter, and they say, hey, well, based on this, you had a judgment for a loan you took out back during Hurricane Katrina. You have to pay that back to the government, so you have to pay that back first. It had that happen before, and the client forgot that it existed. The point is, they want to make sure, again, back to what I said at the beginning, they're making an investment in you just as much as they're investing in themselves. So the goal is to ensure you're buying a home that's affordable. It's not going to put you in debt. You see foreclosure numbers rise, um, and that's not the business that I want to be in. You have people that will, do anything to get you into the home, whether you like the payment or not. But there's no benefit to me in putting you in a home where 6 months down the line you call cursing me out because I gave you too high of a payment. I'm not in the business of that, and most loan officers don't want to be in the business of that. So, um, yeah, when it comes to understanding mortgage lending, the goal is that this is an investment in you, and we want to make sure that it stays true.
Mhm. Okay, okay. And so understanding that mortgage lending is a key piece to having financial intelligence. And so, with all your financial intelligence that you have, um, when it comes to you not just talking to clients, but even teaching, what I mean? Because there's a lot of stuff that that the average person don't know. And so when it really comes to you doing your part of community development, just impacting the community, because a lot of people purchase homes but don't know how to do it in the proper way, and they end up paying this really really outlandish interest rate, and further, a lot of people have homes for 30 years and don't understand anything about equity or even how to pull the equity out of a home. So when it comes to you kind of being that resource for people, man. Because I know people ask you tons of questions all the time, man, and not just when you at work. Even when you're out passing, because they very interested in knowing why did you choose this field, how long you been in this field, and how did you become so you know how can I say so college like a college professor, the way you break it down and explain it, is like you're teaching a class. So, with that being said, man, what are your efforts in the community, and how do you want to impact the community when it comes to home ownership?
Yeah, so I want to be that guy when they're looking at houses, when they're considering. We have a whole bunch of new developments coming up all around me. It's insane. I want them to look at think of that idea of owning a home. What all does it mean? How do I get there? Because buying a home is so much more than just finding a place to have a roof over your house, finding a place for your family to eat. And that's the core thing. You want a place for your family. You want to build generational wealth for your kids if you have them, for future generations. But there's so much value in home ownership. So when we're talking about new developments, when we're looking at um, uh, even fixer uppers, where does that ultimately take you, right? When I talk to people, um, I've talked to people that are interested in investments, being an investor, owning multiple properties. How do you get into that? Because normally, if you're to buy an investment home, you're talking about 20% down. 20% down is hard to do these days. And if it's your first time, how do you go about it?
Hmm.
So one thing I share is that, well, if that's your ultimate goal, let's start with buying you a house for you to live in with FHA, 3.5% down. You do that, you live in the house for a year, you rent it out. Now, even better, You do that with a 2-unit home, 2-unit property. You live in one unit, you rent the other unit out. Now you got income already. Now you're getting the experience of being a property manager, owning an investment property because you own that other unit. Now you're making the money, you got the income, you got the assets to go buy a house that's truly yours. Now you can live in that house. You rent this other unit, the second unit out, from where you're leaving. Now you got two incomes from this one property, and you do it over and over again. It's about the easiest way you can get into home investments, right? So, and that's just one way of getting into a home. You have families, got a baby on the way, need to get into a bigger house. How do I get into this new house, and deal with trying to sell the old house? I don't have the money to buy this new house, but I also don't want to have two mortgage payments. Tap into your equity, like you said. There's equity in your home that you can have access to get into your new house before you even sell your old house, right? So there's so many different ways. There's so many things you can do once you own a house. Just buying your first property is the beginning of generations of wealth, no matter where you take it, whether it's for your family, whether it's for a venture that you're trying to take off on. Um, the key is in that a house is one of the few things in life that appreciates, that you can build equity, you can build a business off of your home, right? Um, those are the things I share with people. That's why I want them to understand when it comes to home ownership. It's so easy to look at the prices of everything, how expensive everything is, how high the rate is, without looking at the long run. I'm always asking people, what's your goal for the next few years buying this home? Is this your forever home, or is this something you're not sure you're going to want to stay here? I talked to a client yesterday, literally. She said, I don't even know if I want to be here after 3 years, but I do want to buy a home. I said, okay, well, then if you can afford the payment, get the payment, take the payment, and get into this home. And every year for the next few years, I'll check in on you, see where you're feeling, see where you want to go. Do you want to move somewhere else, rent this out? Do you want to sell it, move somewhere else? Let's make that plan. It's all about the plan. Buying a house is not just you buy it and that's it. You got to look ahead. If you look ahead, the possibilities are endless once you're in that home.
Okay. Okay. So I'm glad you said that. And with the home ownership, um, understanding on why you can get them in a home and understanding the loan. So understanding the principle of the loan and the interest of the loan. Um, that's that's something that I hear people who are financial literate talk about, but most people don't understand the principal versus the interest rate. And so, can you kind of break down the principal versus the interest rate?
Yeah, absolutely. So your principal is simply whatever your loan amount is, whatever you owe left. That's going to be your principal, right? Then you have the interest rate. The interest rate is how the bank gets paid. That interest that is what they're collecting for you taking out a loan for this amount. So anytime you go into a mortgage, people get alarmed at this, but this is how it works. There's no trick to it. It's just it's the math of the process. When you first get into a home, your payment is going to be made up of your principal and your interest, right? Your interest is going to be higher than your principal. Okay. So when you're making your payments to start, you have a higher interest that you're paying, and that principal that you're paying, the actual money that's bringing down the loan amount, is slow over time. Okay. So at first, it may seem alarming because, man, I'm paying all this interest, I'm paying all this principal, but not enough principal. I'm barely making a dent in it. Usually, within the first 10 years, you're going to be paying more interest than principal. That's just how the math works. There's no way around it. There is a way around it if you decide to make extra payments directly toward your principal. Now, the interest that you're paying on a loan is going to be lower because it's always going to be the interest on the amount that's left owed. So everything eventually flip flops to where you're paying more principal now than you were paying interest. And by the time you're done paying the mortgage, most of your payment is going towards principal. But if you decide to keep on um, uh, the payments toward your principal, now you're shortening the life of your loan. Standard life of a loan is 30 years. So with extra payments, you can cut that down to 25 to 20 years, depending how diligent you are with it. You have products out there that allows your interest to be a little bit lower for the first few years. So that means you can put more principal toward your payment. There's one product, and I really love it. Matter of fact, I'm going to a webinar that's coming up this week for the company that one of the companies that has this product. It's called one of the names for it is called All-in-One. Another name is called Wealth Builder. With that product, they found a way to set it up where you could pay a 30-year mortgage in the span of a couple of years. And I'm not exaggerating, literally a couple of years. And they do that by taking a checking account, saying this is your limit for this checking account where you can take money, take money out, put money in. And every single deposit that goes into that account is bringing down your principal. So imagine if you get paid, let's say $5,000 a month, and 2,000 of it goes toward a mortgage payment. With this product, that $5,000 you get a month goes directly into that checking account. That's automatically towards your principal. You can pay out of it, use that equity as you see fit. But with that, it literally turns a 30-year mortgage into 10 years, if that, depending on how much that loan amount is. That's a very special and specific product, but it's one of the reasons again why I'm in the broker industry is because there's so many unique products like that for people to be able to afford homeownership.
Okay. Okay. Now, so I know the loans may vary sometime, when it comes to residential real estate and commercial real estate. And so can you talk about how the loans may vary?
Yeah. So with residential, you're looking at your personal profile, your personal credit, personal income, pretty much everything personal. Usually with residential, you're talking about your single family homes, your 1 to 4 unit properties, whether you're buying it for yourself or buying it as a vacation home or an investment property. Once you start looking at 5 unit properties or office buildings, gas stations, whatever case may be, anything that's not a single family 1 to 4 unit home. Now you're in the space of commercial lending. Now they may look at your personal credit score, but they're mostly looking at your business.
Mhm.
What are you making so that you can afford this? What leverage do you have so that you utilize this? What money will you be making by obtaining this type of property? So when it comes to commercial lending, they're looking into your business entity. How is it doing for the past 2 years? What you have things like SBA loans. Those SBA loans are investing into your business. That means you have a business plan. What's your business plan? How do you plan on getting there? What does the first few years look like going through this? They're gonna analyze that to make sure you have a solid business to afford this loan. Whether it's residential or commercial, the goal is the same, to make sure that you can afford to pay it, right? So when you're talking about commercial, you're really in another sphere of lending. But It's more so on your entity, what you plan to do with your business, how fast do you plan for your business to grow, um, what are you going to need in addition to this particular type of property or equipment, as opposed to your residential, which is your everyday home buyer trying to afford a home for themselves or their families.
Okay. Okay. So another thing, I want to ask you. We from the South, so a lot of people own land in the South. A lot of children have been left land. A lot of grandchildren have been left land. And so, from your expertise, in being a lender, and a lot of people don't know what to do with that land to 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 really make money with the land. Not per se selling it, but
Hmm.
using the land's value to accumulate generation wealth for the next 3 4 generations that's coming. So
Hmm.
how would you kind of break that down to somebody, and to really get them in a mind space that you already have it? You just need to have a resource to show you what to do with it, and to show you how you can turn the land over to consistently to make you money.
Exactly. So, and that's what I love about people that own land. I talked to one guy in Texas. He owns hundreds of acres of land, bare land, not knowing what to do with it. But there's so many things you can do with land. A lot of people don't realize that if you own land, you already own equity. You already have money just from that land itself. There are the possibilities, and they're endless when you gain access to that equity. That does mean, making sure your credit is where it needs to be, um, and then of course being able to refinance. So the first thing a person can do if they own a lot of land is to make sure their credit is where it needs to be. Generally, 620 is a good place to start, but um, not a hard beginning. Even if you're a little under 620, it's fine. But get into be able to refinance the land. When you refinance, now you're taking that equity. Now you have cash to do what you need to do for that development. Now, I'm always encouraging look into turning it into a development. And that's what a lot of people here in Charlotte, people that own land are the people that are building these apartment buildings everywhere. I'm not saying it has to be an apartment building, but why not a starter development for single family homes, a development for first time home buyers? One thing I don't see a lot of these days are starter homes, right? A starter home used to be 2 beds, 1.5 bath, so something to start. You have a family, you're starting out, right?
Hmm.
Nowadays, starter homes are 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and they start so high. But for someone that's lives simply, you know, those type of homes can benefit them. So one major thing you can do, and that can last you a long time, is find out how I can get homes on my properties. Because what people don't realize is that you can actually build a home with the land without even having to, and you can use the equity in your land as the down payment to get the building the build it started. Um, that's one thing you can do. If you're in an area where there are stores lacking, um, looking into buying a gas station, a laundromat, a lot of places like that. People start out when they are becoming real estate investors or things of that nature. That can be something, a business that literally can run itself, and you built it from the ground up, right? But if we're talking about developments and homes, it is so easy to get into building building homes for people in the community that cannot afford these. I'm in Charlotte, so everything around me is extremely high, extremely expensive, and um, uh, uh, they start at 300. everything starts at 300, right? But then you have areas where all the land is, where a lot more people can afford getting into homes in those areas. It's so easy to get into it. That's why I love that's why I love construction loans, one-time construction loans. There are product programs where you don't even need a down payment to start to build on your home. So um, that's one that, and again, there's so many things you can do with land, but it all starts with qualifying to get the equity. So as long as you get your credit scores there, it's nothing to refinance and get equity in your home. And then once you get that access, sky's the limit.
Okay, okay, okay. So let's talk about the rehab homes. Um, as far as you guys, somebody coming to you and they found a house that they want to buy and they want to rehab and they find it for about 140. They want to put about 40,000 into it, and they may want to sell it for 210. So what type of what type of things do they need to know, and how would you go about working with them, from lender to client, so they can really understand this is the best structured way possible that you can do that's going to benefit you, and then you will be able to do it again if need be, because now you have the structure down pat.
Right, absolutely. So first things first, you got to know about the house that you're looking into. So if there's rehab to be done, you need to understand what exactly needs to be fixed, what needs to be done to the house, and how much is going to cost. Of course, you want to sell it for however much is going to be after the fact, but that's assuming you did the numbers and based on sales of similar homes in the area, it's going to appraise for that much, right? And so um, one thing that banks will look at is your experience in doing this, right? So if you've done this for a few years, you can show that you have this under your belt, then they're gonna look and see, okay, well, show me your ledger. What all have you done? Okay, this guy's experience when it comes to flipping, because one thing the bank doesn't want to do is give you this money, and now you're trying to figure out, how do I fix this house, right? So if you're a first time investor and you're looking into getting into property flipping, you may have to look for a higher down payment. Now, for someone, one program that I recommend, um, especially if it's the first time, is not necessarily a fix and flip loan, because that's what we're talking about right now. Fix and flip loans. That's
Right.
considered, just in a sense, it's considered uh, commercial, because the idea is that you're just fixing a house to sell it. You're going to be living in it per se. But for someone that's brand new to this, I always recommend one product called FHA 203K. So with a FHA 203K, you can buy a home and they will escrow, or they will put into an account for repairs, the amount that's needed in order to fix the home, right? So you're talking a minimum down payment, 3.5%, as opposed to 10 or 15. And then now you're getting funding for the repairs on that home. Now it is very specific. FHA is under the government loan product, so they're going to want to make sure the uh, contractor is verified, FHA verified. They're going to want to make sure that the property is fixed in a certain amount of time, so that the appraiser can go back and confirm that it is reached where it's at. And they do require that you live in the home at least for a year. So um, more so, especially if you're currently renting, and you're looking to getting into fixing properties, now you get firsthand experience on what does that look like renovating a home, right? So
Okay.
now you go to your next property, you know exactly what you're looking for, what you want to put into this particular property. Um, and you know how, and you're a homeowner. That helps in so many ways, so yeah, when it comes to investing in those fix and flips, you have your
think he froze up.
All right, sorry about that. So, when it comes to those fix and flips, it's all about what your exit strategy is. So if you're going to rent it out, if you're going to sell it, they look at that too to determine how they're going to go about lending you the money. And of course, with those, it's a short period of time. So when you're getting a loan to fix and flip a house, this loan is not a 30-year loan. It could be as short as 6 months. It could be as long as 3 years. Most times you're looking at 6 months to 4 months, somewhere in that range before you owe it back, because the idea is you fix it up, you sell it. If you fix it up, you decide you want to keep it, then you can look at refinancing it. Again, it's all about owning the home, purchasing the home in order
Hmm.
to access to the equity, the refinance, all the things you can do with the house from there on. So if you're going to focus on anything, just focus on qualifying to purchase that home. Once you get it, you're golden on that point. Now you can start making moves with it.
Okay, so the before we get out of here, the next question I have is it is about a fix it up, but not the flip part. So it's about finding a home to fix it and getting some type of loan, but turning the home into a veteran house. The house might be 4 bedrooms and have a 2-car garage, and turning that 2-car garage into 3 more bedrooms.
Mhm.
And so, if somebody would want to get into something like that, Chris, what would be the best way they would get into it, and how would you guide them as far as a loan assessment to really help them get into that?
Gotcha. So, well, first things first, you got to make sure that it's within code and zoning. So you got to go to your county office, make sure, hey, I want to make these changes to my property. Is that going to create a different type of zoning or a different type of code for this house? Got to get approval, the approval, the permits to make those types of adjustments. Um, Unfortunately, not everywhere you can just do what you want to do with the house.
Hmm.
There's still things we're governed by, right? But once you get the okay, yeah, you can convert this into with more bedrooms, absolutely, right? So from that point, strategizing how much is going to cost me to do this, right? That's the key thing. How much is it going to cost? Now you know how much it's going to cost. Next question is, do I have enough equity in the home for that cost, right? So if you have enough equity in the home for that cost, now we're looking at maybe a refinance, a cash out refinance, or maybe we're going to take out a second mortgage or a HELOC on the house so that it can get
Hmm.
paid for, right? Um, if not, then you may have to consider what's called a renovation loan. You'll still be able to get the money, but you're really turning your mortgage into a brand new mortgage with different rate, different terms, so you can have those adjustments done. And then once you're done, now you do have to refinance again into a standard mortgage. And so, but most investors are using a HELOC, to open that line of credit of the equity and using that to
Hmm.
be able to make those renovations on their home. Yeah.
Okay, so the reason why I asked you that um, is it was 64,000 homeless veterans before COVID, and now it's up to 78,000 homeless veterans. And so I think when it comes to getting in any type of investment, and it's for a good cause. I think that there needs to be more veteran housing. because there's a lot of homeless veterans, and I just want to understand, you know, how we can do that, and then even if I may know some people who's looking to invest some money, and I think that that idea would be a great idea because the veterans also have a lot of money set aside that they didn't use. So therefore, what I mean, they always will be looking for some type of housing, and only veteran housing, and you definitely have to be a veteran to really get room and board. So I just thought that was a more serious question because there's so many homeless veterans out there. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. And the sad thing is there are products out there for veterans that even the veterans don't know about. I talked to one guy the other day. He said for years he didn't even know that VA loans were a thing that he could use. And he had been a veteran for I think like 13 years.
Hmm.
He said he wasn't even aware. He wasn't told about it, right? And so
Right.
um, even for veterans that are looking for a new home, um, there's a particular product. It's called a one-time close. It's a new build for new build homes for
Hmm.
veterans where they don't need a
Hmm.
down payment. They don't need a down payment for a new home to be built for them. You know, even with VA loans themselves, those loans usually are assumable. That means if a veteran buys a house with a VA loan and he decides to sell, he can choose for the buyer to keep that VA loan on the house. Now the buyer doesn't have to go through the hoops of financing and everything. As long as they qualify to make that payment that was already there. There are people that had house interest rates when they were in the twos and threes, a VA
Hmm.
loan, right? Now they can sell a house to somebody and they keep that payment, they keep that rate because it's assumable. Not all loans are like that, but veteran loans can be like that, and it helps so much for those that are homeless. So they're uh, trying to get by, even if they are working. They're trying to get by every day because they don't have a proper roof on under their head. I agree. The veteran community is highly looked over. Um, at one point, I tried to start a courier service, and I may still end up getting back into it. But my goal was to focus on veteran VA hospitals, so that those veterans that are getting their medications and stuff, I can deliver it to
Hmm.
them in a manner. Um,
Right.
but even in the real estate space, there's so much opportunity for veterans out there. It's just all about going to a loan officer and asking asking the questions, um, and that loan officer inform them of the options that they have. So VA loans are one of the products that my team at New Mortgage Solutions are focusing on for our community.
Okay. Okay. Great. Great, man. So our time has come, man, and I promise you, man. I promise you, you are a wealth of knowledge and a breath of fresh air when it comes to residential, when it comes to commercial, when it comes to land ownership, when it comes to construction loans, when it comes to renovation loans, all the above, man. And I greatly appreciate you taking the time to really talk with me, to really give us better insight, to really give the community, you know, um, some pointers, some resources, and just keep building, man. Keep building, man, and keep elevating, man, because we definitely need people like you out here, man, because a lot of people don't know. Because with
Yeah.
the economy being the way it is, a lot of people don't really take the time to understand, and you can help them understand, man. So before you get out of here, tell people where they can find you at, how they can follow you, and how they can connect with you.
Yeah, so look, Instagram, Facebook, um, TikTok, or Facebook and Instagram. I'm the Next Lender. The Next Lender is where you can find me. NEXLENDER. That's where you'll find me on TikTok. You can find me at the Next Lender One. You can also find me at New View Chris. TikTok, especially more recently, I'm New View Chris on TikTok. If you have any questions, comments, my website is cdingle.newviewmortgagesolutions.com. You'll find information for all borrower, all types of scenarios, whether you're a first-time home buyer, a second home buyer, VA, whatever case may be. My phone number, email address is all there, 704-363-7520. And, one thing I'll say, for anyone out there wondering if they qualify, if they can do it, don't guess about what you're qualifying for. Have one real conversation and get a real number. It's a free conversation. I promise you. Have one real conversation and get a real number so you know where you're actually at. Don't let the numbers, don't let the interest rates, don't let any of that scare you. Knowledge is power when it comes to this. There's a phrase I always say, King Jacob, my power is giving you the power of home ownership.
There you have it. You heard it first from the man himself. So I want to thank y'all for tuning in. We grateful that y'all tapped in with us, man, and everybody else for the rest of your week, man. Just remember, we all blessed by the best, and so stay tuned. Good night.